Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I come to you live from, I have no idea where I am, and also nerdrotic.com. And I am with my co-host down in San Diego, Dennis Bithoulkas. What is up?
Nothing much. How about you? You're on the road.
On the road. We got here. It was raining like crazy. Then it stopped. And yeah, we're in the middle of California somewhere. Undisclosed location. How's it going, man?
Well, you're part of that witness relocation program that Reggie was putting together.
I am. I'm a realtor now. Yes. So, yeah. X-Files. We got the Goofy episode. It happened. And it had the guy I was expecting in it. So I don't know. I'm kind of in it. Oh God, we already got a dislike. That's crazy. How did that happen?
That was me. Sorry. No,
oh, that was you, wasn't it? Welcome everybody. We're kind of early actually, because I'm on the road and we're just kind of doing this when we can. But I didn't want to skip a podcast, so here we are. Dennis, what did you think of this episode?
At first I was like, oh God, another one of these, because I really haven't been liking this season. But then as I got into it and I realized who it was written by Darren Morgan, who's one of my favorite. He's written one of my favorite episodes, which is Jose Chung's From Outer Space, which makes me laugh no matter how many times I've seen it. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So yeah, it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't the best episode and it wasn't the worst episode. There was some stuff in it, little stuff in it that made me laugh.
Yeah, it had some chuckle moments. Just overall, before we get in the recap, I just thought they broke the fourth wall way too hard. And especially after an episode, the one he did last season with the were lizard or whatever it was, that was a great episode, man. That was hilarious. But that was mainly because of, I forgot the guy from Flight of the Concords or Condors, the Kiwi guy, man. He was great in it. But this one, I think the main problem is the writing was pretty damn solid, but Fox or Mulder's, he was just cringy in this, man.
Everybody was. I mean, that was the whole thing. They're really playing with this whole, alternate reality thing. When Mulder kept saying it's an alternate reality, it's an alternate reality. They're finally like, shut up. And I'm pretty sure now they're just screwing with us on it because everyone's been talking about, it's an alternate reality.
Well, and alternate realities are so hot right now. We've been saying that every podcast, especially when like this whole thing's about the Mengele Effect, which was our big theory for Mr. Robot for forever, and which now
it's not the Mandela. It was the Mengele Effect.
The Mengele Effect, right? And it's Ozzy's razor.
The thing is, I actually have heard of the Mengele Effect, which was kind of funny when he said it. I started laughing, like, yeah, I actually have heard that. I heard it called that.
I have not, but I would, it also like the big meta joke in this is just people just remember shit wrong, and also there was a big fake news thing, but I don't know, like a lot of the comedy did not land for me in this one. Some did. There was like some really obvious stuff that was happening, right? But we'll go over it. So let's recap the episode. And what we do is we recap and then we'll get to your comments. So we're not ignoring you.
So
I'm sorry, say that again.
We only have one person in the comment section, RoboBrain 10,000, and he was just asking if the Happy podcast is after this one. And unfortunately, no, it's going to be tomorrow.
Yes, Happy will be tomorrow because I'm traveling. So we're going to do it at 8 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. Just because I'm not going to be able to watch it, and I'm in a hotel room with my family right now, just to the left of me, and they don't want to hear me doing two
studio audience.
Yes, they don't want to hear me doing two podcasts in a row. So we start out with what Mulder was going squatching.
He was out squatching.
Which I have never heard of, and I am a fan of the Bigfoot. I'm a fan of all this stuff, by the way.
If you watch the Bigfoot Hunter thing on Animal Planet, the channel. There's actually these guys that go out and do squatching, and that's where I've heard it from. Is from
really okay. You know what? That's the first time I've heard it, but yeah, I'm a big Art Bell guy. I used to listen to a lot of Art Bell and George Norrie. And I loved, I'm a kid of In Search Of. Okay. So I watched In Search Of when I was a kid, and that got me into UFO and ancient civilizations and all that crap. And got to meet like Eric Von Daniken and Giorgio Tsoukalos. And yeah, I'm just really into that stuff. I don't know if I believe it all, but it's entertaining. So yeah, Mulder was out squatching to forget about the woes of the world. And right before he goes to crash out, there's a little X tape on his window. Is that I couldn't see it because I'm watching this on a Surface Pro right now. So that leads him to go to a parking lot.
Yeah, the parking lot in the FBI.
Yeah, the parking lot of the FBI where we meet Reggie. And right away, I recognize this guy from Preacher. So this is the guy who gave his heart to his mother, literally.
Yep.
One of the best parts of the ending of Preacher. And yeah, he tells we start out with what looks like a Twilight Zone episode, and a guy sees his he says the Martians are after me, and then he another guy
tells great they actually did a really good recreation of that episode. I mean, I was surprised they actually found people that looked a lot like the actors who portrayed them in that episode. That's why I was like, am I watching the Twilight Zone? It was kind of funky.
Well, it wasn't a Twilight Zone episode, but it was it's made to look like one. And what did they call it? The Dusty? It was like some knockoff show or something like that.
Yeah, Dusky Twilight or something like that.
Yeah, it was it's made up for the show, but it looked very good. I love that beginning scene. I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan, and that whole scene with Mulder describing his first Twilight Zone and how it changed his life. That was cool. It had a little Mulder head. Which is going to be our art for this episode, by the way. That was cool because I felt the same way. First time I saw Twilight Zone, I was like, what? Now I was that young. So it started out really good. It had a lot of potential, this one. I think it just went on too long. I think if they had kind of done what Star Trek Discovery did last Sunday and made it a 37-minute episode, it probably would have been better for me. But yeah, some of the jokes landed, but you also got to remember that we'll get there. I don't want to ruin it in the beginning, but yeah, he meets Reggie in the garage, and he's talking that he's having basically a Mengele effect, and he talks to Scully about it, and of course Scully doesn't believe him, but this is
no, Scully. Well, what ends up happening is he tells Mulder about the Twilight Zone episode. And Mulder goes back to his place and he's looking for it. He can't find it anywhere. He can't find that episode on his box set. He can't find it in his VHS tapes. He can't find it anywhere. And Scully, they're supposed to go out to dinner, and she basically leaves him and goes back to that same parking garage. It was kind of funny that she leaves and goes to that parking garage. It was kind of an odd thing. And that's where she bumps into Reggie, who gives her a box of, well, it's not Jell-O. It's Cherry 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird. It's supposed to be some gelatin mixture that you mix together, and it has 3 different layers. And it was something from her childhood. And he goes, "It has my fingerprints on it. So just prove that I exist," is what he tells her as these guys are chasing him, and he runs and he disappears. And so the 2 guys, they both disappear as well. Very odd.
They do. And this part is intriguing. It is. The problem is how they deliver it at the end is fine. So it starts out pretty cool. It starts out with he's there talking to Mulder and then to Scully. And every time the 2 guys in the suits come walking down the stairs into the parking lot, everybody disappears. All right. Yep. So and then they forget. And the whole thing from the beginning part that we didn't mention, the Twilight Zone episode, is the guy who said he was seeing the Martians in the diner, and he was talking to basically Satan. Every time you see him, they make you forget. And then he's like, there's one in the window right there. He's all, that's not a window over there. It's a mirror. And he goes up and he sees that he's a Martian. And then the guy in the diner takes his hat off and he's the devil. which actually would have been a really interesting episode. I would have loved to have seen what happens there. But they go on. So they're like, they make you think that Mulder and Scully kind of forget afterwards too. They're like, oh, they're gone, no big deal. So I'm kind of left wondering, and see that I'm going to compare this to the Were Lizard episode of last year, where as goofy as it got, it still felt like you're within the X-Files. You didn't take, you're not doing like a side episode or like this is our comedy episode or this is our musical episode. You still felt like you were within the X-Files. It was just funny. All right. So
yeah,
this one just takes a departure of like, okay, we're doing like our parody X-Files right now within our own show. So it's the Meta-Files, basically, the comedy Meta-Files.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, considering that this season, like I said before, hasn't really hit for me on, this episode was kind of like a little bit more of I guess a breather, if you will, before they start heading back into the
breather at episode 4.
Well, it just needed not a breather. It's actually more of a palate cleanser, I guess you could say, because everything else that came before was just kind of like, eh. And this actually felt more like.
See, I agree with you on the first episode. I think 2 and 3 were pretty good. I thought they were pretty good episodes. They weren't the greatest thing ever, but I felt like they were actually getting their feet under them way better than they were in season 10, which was just a god awful mess.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, within that season 10, you can tell they were trying to like maybe launch another X-Files with 2 other people, and they weren't really sure. And I think, and I understand why you would be having a problem with this season a little bit, because it's been firmly tongue in cheek in every episode, even the serious ones.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of goes with, I know you kind of look at it with as I look over to my wife, as a marriage that you've been in for a long time, everything gets tongue in cheek after like a decade of being together. So I think as far as their relationship goes, it's tongue in cheek. That's where I think this one were the problems you were having, I think, with 2 and 3 is like they weren't taking the X-Files stuff seriously enough. And then they go and do an episode like this, and then we're supposed to get serious next. I mean, like, then you might as well just do a parody all the way out, I don't know.
And some people, I'm ready for that, because I mean, I figure it's gone on long enough at this point. You might as well start doing the parody.
And I do understand that. I do. I even read a review, which I usually don't do before these. I like to have the visceral reaction. I just read like a paragraph of it. And it was an Entertainment Weekly. That's really loud, Melissa. Sorry, folks. Sorry, I just totally broke my concentration there, my dear. I've read a review on EW, and they're like, this is my X-Files finale. Like, this is it. This was the greatest one ever. And it was just about the content of it. Which again, I understand if it depends on how big. I don't know. I'm interested to see like how X-Files fans deal with this episode. Like how many of them. Some of them might love it. I don't know.
Yeah, I read something else somewhere else that someone, as they put it in the article, this is the X-File episode this season. If you only watch one, this is the one you should watch and not miss.
And that's what they said about the Were Lizard one, and I would agree with them on that one. On this one, I guess if you were never going to watch an X-Files, but you wanted to watch an X-Files and you weren't a fan, like this would be the one. If you thought all that stuff was crap and a joke, this would be the one you watch. Totally. If you're not an X-Files fan. But the performance of David Duchovny in this, like sometimes it was good. And like I said, I like the first 30 minutes of the episode. I thought it was really solid. And then there was like about 5 minutes at the end. I thought it was really funny, but it went on too long for me.
For me, there's little things in there, like when Scully was talking about the cherry Jello stuff, and she goes, "Oh no, cherry only. They did a lemon lime one, but lemon lime tastes like leprechaun taint." And that just made me laugh, just the way she said it, because it's just kind of like, it was just kind of like under her breath a little bit, like, yeah, lemon lime tastes like leprechaun taint.
Yeah.
And it made me laugh, because it
had good moments, but as an entire episode, it kind of blew. that's it had really funny moments that busted a fourth wall at the beginning of a season after you've been gone for 2 years, after you had a crappy season. Sorry, they even admitted it. And yeah, I don't know.
Like I said, again, I think it played really into that whole, alternate realities thing too.
Well, it did in the end, which was funny.
Yeah.
Which was funny. Reggie keeps meeting him, and he said he finally has enough time to talk to them in the parking lot, where he said, what really did it for me was Dr. Wuzzle, which is supposed to be Dr. Seuss, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it was how his name was spelled, and I guess this is their spin on the Barnstein Bears, which is supposed to be the Bernstein Bears. And if any of you are not familiar with the Mengele Effect, just Google it; it's out there. It's just people misremembering thing, but
it's about Nelson Mandela. People remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 80s. That's a story that he died in the 80s, when actually he died as a free man in 2013.
Yep. And Dennis and I have had this conversation throughout entire Mr. Robot, which is funny.
Yeah. And it was also kind of funny because Reggie brings up the Mengele Effect, which is Dr. Mengele. He goes, no, it's called the Mengele Effect, which is from the 70s, when Dr. Mengele, a famous Nazi doctor who tortured people, was remembered as being brought up on charges and all this kind of stuff. And that made me laugh, because I've actually heard the Mengele Effect as well.
See, I have not, but I can believe it. I can believe people saying, just misremembering things. That was that. I guess we've all had our own Mandela effects at one time. I told this story on Mr. Robot. I'll tell it now. Mine was the Chris Squire effect. So, who was the bass player from Yes? Okay, I could have sworn. I guess I had a dream that he was dead. He was totally dead, and I was like, "Oh, bummer, man! Chris Squire's dead." Really like, because I'm a bass player. And then, like a week later, he died, and I'm like, "What? Wait a minute! I could have sworn he died already." But it must have been a dream. That's all. I don't know. That was my little weird slight Mandela effect. But and again, they've had some great episodes of Art Bell talking about this, and it's fun to speculate about that stuff, even though most of it's BS. But you never know.
Well, I mean, I like the other stuff too. Like the whole Grenada invasion was a cover for
an alien crash. That would explain it a lot better than what it was.
You had to rescue some students. When you think about it, you're like, so basically the U.S. government just sent over the entire, military might just to save 11 students. And when you think about it that way, you're like, yeah, it's kind of weird. So the alien thing does make a lot more sense.
Did they really do the UFO stamp? I don't know if that was a thing or if they just made that up for the show, but they did. Yeah. Then that is weird. That's totally weird. Yeah, no, I remember Grenada, and I thought it was weird then.
Yeah.
But we weren't in like 50 wars back then. It was weird when we went and invaded somebody. So then first Reggie says he was at Grenada, and he was a doctor. He was a medical student, and he went there as a medical student doctor or whatever. And he overheard the alien conversation with a Dr. They. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they did a whole like YouTube video on Dr. They, and how he's a mind manipulator, and how he erases people's minds and helps them misremember things and stuff.
And also he starred in a movie that was a Blam.
Yes. And then, yes, exactly. And then I love how they like did the whole YouTube joke where like, I was looking for comments and they just said it could have been edited tighter. And that was like the first time I was like, that's freaking Dennis. Dennis left that comment, dude.
No, the one that was me was meh.
Meh.
That was the one that made me laugh the hardest. And this is one guy going, meh, what the hell is that about? And I started laughing. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
All right. So yeah, we get and it was funny. He goes to like this junk shop, And he asked for any Dr. Wuzzle books, and what does the guy say? The guy goes, "No, we don't have that."
Yeah, those would be worth money. You can't find those here.
No, he's all, that's something people would actually want. You can't find those here. And all I could think of was Al's comics. Al from Al's comics when he said that. Sorry, we had a guy. He's a friend of mine named Al. I don't know if you're watching, Al. I love you, Al. But he had quite the reputation as a comic owner. Pretty sure the comic shop guy was based on Al.
I did like, though, in the memorabilia shop, in the back, there's a Richard Nixon campaign poster up there, and it just made me laugh because it says, "They can't lick our dick." And it took me a couple of seconds because they just kept talking in front of this poster, and I'm like, "What's that?" And I looked back at the Nixon, and I started busting up laughing, and I was like, "Okay, that's nice. You get points for subtlety on that one," because it just made me, just crack up.
So when he was when Reggie was in the parking lot and he's like, "Oh man," and they kept on bugging about the parallel universes. He's, no, they can rewrite memories. Wouldn't you think? And he mentions a company. Wouldn't you think this company, would want everybody to forget that their stuff blows up? What company name do you think? Because I could have sworn he was going to say GE. But
no, I think it was what were the phones that were blown up on people?
Well, he says G. He clearly says G before he cuts out. It's funny because they cut him out right before he says the company's name. And I don't know. I thought that might be an NBC jab from Fox.
It could be.
Yeah. No, because he didn't say it was Samsung. Samsung.
Yeah, the Samsung.
That was what was blowing up. So I thought he said that it was either that or GMC. I don't know, but it was definitely G. And the long dart thing was pretty funny too.
The long dart, especially with Scully going, "What's a long dart?" She knows nothing about pop culture at all, which was really funny. I love how they kind of played that up with her in this episode because they had to explain everything to her.
Yep.
Which kind of was part of the joke as well, because they both knew about what the pop culture thing was, but she didn't. And of course, the audience knows what it is. And if you didn't, then you got filled in on it as well.
And you got, Scully is there to represent the audience in these, I don't know, these very surface level jokes that some are very funny and some were not, but it's okay. So I don't know. After that, he tells all his story, and you could tell this, like, the episode kind of, this is where it starts to lose me a little bit because it gets a little messy, and it's a joke and it was funny. I just didn't know like where it was going and how it's going to fit in the mythos. But I do remember, and after that we'll get to the Dr. They conversation with Mulder, because that was a pretty decent part. But Dr. They, for one, there's an episode, I think it was the second one, that's called They.
Yeah.
Right. That's the episode title. And that's where Reggie shows up when they get the X-Files. Remember when they ask Skinner, like, "Hey, can we get the actual files?" He's like, "Dude, they're all downloaded."
Going back to what Reggie was saying when he was explaining, about the whole Grenada thing, he says after that, when the government took the alien away and he could hear the telepathic screams, he dropped out of med school and joined the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
What prompted him to join the FBI. And as and it was kind of funny because every time there's a siren that goes off, you can hear a police siren outside, and Mulder says it first. He says, "Well, there's your ride," the first time he meets Reggie. The second time when he meets Scully, the second thing that happens, and Scully even says, "There's your ride." And the third time they both say, "I think your ride's here."
Yeah.
It happens again, and they're walking away, and he says, "I created the X-Files." And they're like, "What?"
And when they come back from a commercial, we've got like a bunch of cuts of Reggie in there with the X-Files. And the funniest one being the end, which is the shapeshifter who is Mulder, who's making out with Scully. And then the guy gets up again, and then he
shoots him.
He shoots him. Hey, sorry. Dennis, keep talking.
Yeah. So my favorite actually was the cat. Where he goes, "You know what? If it turns out that the cats are just eating them, I'm going to be very disappointed." It made me really laugh about that one. Um, and then also once we get to the whole reveal that Reggie was in on the X-Files.
We got to wrap this up.
Okay.
Sorry. We're gonna end this right now. Okay, because I got to go.
Okay. Well, let's get to one really good thing.
Okay, you keep talking. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. So we got into Reggie's last name, Reginald Murgatroyd, which is a play on words. It's heavens to Murgatroyd, and yeah, it's a really long way to go for a joke, but I think it was kind of funny. And we also had Mulder talking to Dr. They. We finally found Dr. They, and the guy who plays Dr. They is actually an old actor. He was on the old Rockford Files as Rockford's friend, and he was also in a sequel to Westworld, which was called Future World. So I actually remember this guy, and I didn't recognize him at all just because of how old he is now. And of course, he talks about, yes, he is manipulating minds. He can do that. He can manipulate memories, and how he creates all this weird videos, like the YouTube video that he was actually the one who made that one, and that post conspiracy is all the rage now, and that he's surprised that young kids haven't come up with a name Poco in order to come up with it, and at some point they will, which was kind of funny as well. So very at the very end there, we find out that Reggie actually is nuts, and he was a medical student, or no, excuse me, he was a soldier going to Grenada, and he got hit in the head with a shovel, and ever since then he's held various government jobs. He's worked for the post office, he's worked for the NSA, he's worked for all these different agencies, and finally the longest stint was with the CIA. And that was, excuse me, the NSA, because the CIA was one of his, and then the NSA was the longest one, and that's where he kind of found out about the cell phone talks between Mulder and Scully, and found out about the X-Files, and that's where he got that idea that he created the X-Files. And it turns out that he's actually escaped from a sanitarium. And I don't know if you saw this, Gary, but the name of the sanitarium is Spotsnitz Sanitarium.
I did not catch it.
Yeah, it's on the back of the truck, and it's actually Spotsnitz is one of the creators of the X-Files. So that was where that came from. That was the inside joke. So at the very end, we really got nothing out of it.
I know, right? It was nothing. It was nothing.
Although we did have Scully making the Jell-O mold out of the Bigfoot impression, and they're going to eat it, and then Scully doesn't do it because she doesn't want to ruin the memory, because, as she puts it, I'd like to remember it the way it was.
No, it's good, and that's where it gets really meta at the end there. Sorry, folks. My computer almost died right in the middle of this, but we fixed it. So yay. Thanks for my son jumping in there at the last second. And that's where, and you told him about the whole Mulder conversation, and he ends with that one part where he ends crying at the end, right? And it just
I didn't mention the aliens. Their final.
This is okay. We generally don't get political, and that's why you probably noticed we didn't mention any of the politics from the show, other than the lick my dick thing. But this was pretty funny. This when the alien comes down, excuse me, and he says he's going to build a wall around the Earth.
Yeah, electromagnetic wall.
You guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want you coming out here with your drugs. That was actually pretty funny. I mean, come on. I started laughing. It was just...
I was laughing. Yeah, so that and then Mulder's crying at the end. And because he gets all the answers, and he finds out about Sasquatch. He's all, it's not true. Also, there was a good scene in the parking lot when he confronts the two guys that were chasing Reggie before they disappeared, and it was FBI agents. And they're like, I thought you knew, man. I guess they get old and fat, And
well, he says, you used to be a rebel. He goes, "What happened to you, man? You
work in the deep state." And he's all, "I'm freaking Fox Mulder. I was doing this stuff before you saw your first chemtrail." That was great.
Yeah. And then Ghost World actually brought up. He goes, "Who's going to pay for that wall?"
I know, right? Well, obviously we are.
It was just pretty funny.
Yes.
So the entire thing really was about nothing, but it was a lot of fun. That's pretty much what this was about. It was just about having fun with the X-Files, and I did love the little drive out there when they're driving out to meet the alien who's going to show up, after 35 years.
Yes, I didn't like that. I hated that. I thought that was, I get what they were trying to do. I totally understand. It was just, it was too much. They were laying it on really thick, and
but it was funny.
And it did not. It was not. It was seriously not funny at the end there. It got really cheesy. It was cringy. I was like, oh no, man. Because they tried to do their comedy episode. See, and in the last season, although they tried, it came off way more natural than this. And this came off with, yes, there were some really funny jokes, but the episode surrounding it was kind of lame. But that's kind of what the X-Files has been the last couple of years. It's weird that they brought it back in this fashion both times. Yeah. I definitely like this season better than I like season 10, because I did like the last two episodes, and it looks like you're going to get the answer you've been wondering where William's been. So they're going to have a William episode, but all of a sudden, like when you saw the scenes for this next episode after this episode, you're like, "Wow!"
Yeah, I know it's very jarring. You're like, "Wait, so you're going to go all full on, like nothing's happened since episode 1, and and the last 3 episodes never happened? Okay, sure, all right, let's go for it."
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Well, I'll be back next week. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's been hit and miss this season. It's been hit and miss, but maybe they'll rally at the end. We only have 6 episodes to go.
I believe so. Yeah. You want to get to some comments?
Yeah, take it on, man.
All right. So for everyone who is asking me is there a happy podcast after this? We're doing that tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because Gary is on the road, hence the weird background behind him. So yeah, we're going to do that tomorrow at 8 p.m. And hello to everyone who's here. So let's see what else we have here. Mindy Morph asks, what park with those laughing metal dudes? Where was that? And I don't know.
I don't know. That is a really good. I don't know if that was real or not. Let's find out, because that's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if they had actually set that up or if that's in a real place, but yeah, those are actually very cool statues. Sensei Vance asks, I need to watch X-Files. I'm old school, but I'm anxious. What do you think of Happy? All I can say is I really liked it. That's all I can say for right now until we get into it tomorrow. So there you go.
Yes, because I have not seen the episode. I rolled into a hotel room, and Dennis has to work tomorrow, and I have my family to the left of me, so they can only handle me doing one podcast very loudly. By the way, answer that question is amazing laughter statues in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Huh. I was in Vancouver. I didn't even know about those.
Yeah, they were built in 2009 in the city of Vancouver by artist Yu Minjin. Nice. There you go. Because we're here to answer your question.
Go back up there, I need to actually go back there and take a look at it. Arturo, hey Arturo, how's it going? He says post office being where all the men in black go to retire. Yes, they do.
What's up, Arturo?
Ghost World says, well, some episodes are best when it's more about the journey to the end rather than what actually is the ending result. Very true.
That is true.
And that's why I liked it.
I mean, if this was a finale, like this is how they really ended it, that would have been, I think that would have been okay.
I don't know.
I actually think I would have been fine with it. No, people would have been totally pissed off. But like, you know what? Like, where else are you going to end this now? Especially when you, again, like I said, you just busted the fourth wall. You basically said everything that this show used to be based on is kind of BS. And instead of the writers trying to work their way into misinformation, because like I think that's a really like misinformation isn't new. It's been actually around forever. Okay. It's just the fact that and maybe they were opening everybody's eyes with a very comedic episode that everything is fake news. Like it's all yes, it's all
everyone remembers things the way they want to.
Exactly, and people now go to the news they want to hear, instead of like hearing the truth, whatever, and maybe they weren't hearing the truth at all, and that's interesting. It was wrapped up in kind of a sloppy comedy, but I think if they would have gotten to that in a serious episode, I'd have been okay with that.
No, my favorite, the punchline though that we forgot to mention is after the sanitarium truck is moving away with Reggie in the back strapped in with, and that was the other thing too, is Reggie's being strapped into a straitjacket and he goes, so when did the image of a crazy person being Napoleon, when did that get phased out and why? Which is kind of an odd thing. You think about it, it's like true, that's, it has been phased out, and that's interesting. And also the whole use of a straitjacket and to denote a crazy person, that's been phased. That was what the whole meta moment of that was too, him being put into a straitjacket. But as the van is driving away, Skinner comes in and goes, where are they taking Reggie? Skinner actually realizes that he knows who Reggie is.
The meta moment in this is especially with the alternate realities, man, because they're playing with alternate realities, and there's 3 shows right now that we've covered, which is now X-Files, Mr. Robot, and Star Trek Discovery, that have been all messing with alternate realities. So I mean, it's it's almost like they all get together and do or they pay the same company to trend scout for them, and they're just getting all the same data from the same people going, what's going to be hot in 2018? Alternate realities. Okay, right on. So let's film that in 2017. And yeah, all 3 of them did. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Robot does a full U-turn on that one and, not go that route, because they still might not. So I don't know. But
we don't know.
We're there in Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. But no, it just, but yeah, that whole thing with Skinner at the end there, knowing who Reggie was all this time, and where are they taking Reggie?
I know, that was funny. But like we mentioned before, Reggie has been shown. He's been shown in earlier episodes, and they called an episode "They." So that was just a plant for this. So,
well, excuse me. Darren actually references a lot of his old episodes anyway in all his writing. He even did it in that werewolf, the were-lizard episode. He referenced back to a lot of his old episodes that he had written. So it's just another callback again to this, of because all those, like, remember the Fluke Man?
Oh yeah,
he played the Fluke Man. He was actually Darren Morgan was the Fluke Man. He was the one who played him in the
he did play him. I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know, that was the big episode when in the 90s. That's the one everybody liked.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's still that way, but that's what everybody liked. Got any more comments?
Let's see. Ghost World says, completely unrelated, but Toys R Us is closing like literally every store near me. Yeah, I've got like 3 that are closing near me as well. And it just means sales. That's all it means.
I'm surprised it lasted this long. They closed in San Francisco and Colma years ago. So
let's see. He said, Ghost World says, I can't wait to. Okay, wait a second. Darth Barbecue says the Lizard Man episode is definitely my favorite of the new X-Files so far. That was
absolutely.
Yeah. And Ghost World says, I can't wait to binge it. Is there going to be some sort of mid-season break mid-season?
There might be.
They're going all stream, right?
It looked like I went on both Wikipedia and IMDb, and the dates for March aren't there yet. So I don't know. It looks like they might take a break, like a week break at some point. But I don't think they're going to take a huge break, because there is only 10 episodes this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was 6 last time, right? 6 or 7. It was really short.
Yeah, it was 7, I think. Yeah, last time. So Ghost World also says, wait, so Gary, you literally travel with your own studio recording equipment?
Yes, I do. I take this hobby very seriously. I do.
And
It's fun.
Mindy Morph is only 7 hours away from British Columbia there. So go and visit that, take some pictures, let us know what it looks like, because I want to go and see that. I want to go back up there and take a look anyway.
Yeah, how'd you miss that, man?
I was only there for a weekend, man. So I saw a lot of stuff, but I missed that one.
Yeah.
And
that was very cool.
Yeah, it was. Sancel Vance says, mind-blowing happy. Can't wait for you guys to see it. I've seen it. Gary hasn't. That's why I'm not saying anything about it, because it was really damn good. And I just can't say anything because he hasn't seen it yet. So that's why I'm keeping that under wraps. And also, this is the X-Files too, so we're not talking about happy.
Yeah. Happy will be tomorrow night. I'm very sorry because yeah, we got a lot of love from that. You know, we got Kathleen Lafrere who watches us from and she's one of the Sussex sirens.
Yes.
You know, and she's Anna
Marie,
right? And
she has a scene in tonight's episode. That's all.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
No,
it's a brief scene, but it's funny.
No, we've even gotten some love from Meredith. So on Twitter. So that was cool.
Ghost World just sent out $2 to us for your dedication to carrying your microphone around, is what he says. Thank you, Ghost World.
It's so hard.
Yeah, by the way, we have super chat going on. We should have mentioned that before. You'll notice there's a little dollar sign down there. It's kind of like a tip jar, if you will. If you like what you're hearing and you want to donate a couple bucks towards us for equipment and fees and all that stuff, because we do subscribe to all this stuff as well, feel free to go ahead and do that. If not, that's fine. We also have a Patreon that we have going on. And how many tiers do we have going on there, Gary?
We have 3 tiers, and it's $1, it's $10 and $15. You get something with all of them. We're working on the content. We've actually got some patrons, Isaiah and Viking B. That's not a real name, but we can't. Well, screw it. I already cussed this episode, right? So Viking Bitch has donated to our Patreon. So thank you very much to both of you. And yeah, and you get like comic books and toys, and yeah, check it out. It's patreon.com/nerdrotic.
And you can find all of our content over at nerdrotic.com. And Gary has a Twitter. It's nerdrotics with an S, at nerdrotics, excuse me. I am at DeForce, DAFORCE. John Reed can be found at John Reed 16. And Melissa, who's sitting off to Gary's side over there, is at Agent Bossy Boots. And you can also find us on Facebook. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on SoundCloud. You can find us on YouTube, which you're watching us right now.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and ring the bell. Your time is the most important to us of all. So yeah, to everybody, like our subscribers is really blown up for what we do. Like I said, we do everything wrong.
We do.
We don't prepare very much. Our videos are very long. We get dislikes before we even go on the air, which is great. And yeah, I take my microphone on trips to Palm Springs. So there we go.
Mindy, there's a little tiny dollar sign at the bottom of the chat. You'll see there's like where the emoji is, and then there's also a dollar sign thing. If you click on that, you can fill in the information, and that will do the little tip for you. Again, you can also go to the Patreon as well, and you will get stuff sent to you. We actually have some really cool stuff. Arturo actually asks you, Gary, do you happen to have the Maverick comics from Marvel?
Maverick, like the brand? Maverick?
So.
Or the choose. I don't know. I have a vast collection, and I also ended up with a bunch of stuff from a couple stores that I have not gone through yet. Is it something you're interested in?
Possibly. Dante S says, I don't watch X-Files anymore, but want to thank you guys. Started watching Expanse on your recommendation.
All right.
Perfect, man. That's actually a great show to start with. Excuse me. It's a great sci-fi show. and it's just a great show in general. The writing's really good. And Ghost World says, "Hey, no dislikes so far." I think didn't we start off with a dislike?
We did start out. I saw one there, unless somebody undid it.
It might have been.
Oh my god! I'm like X-Men Unlimited, Maverick #4 from 1995. There it is, right there. I don't. You know what? I'll admit this. Was not the biggest X-Men fan in the mid 90s. Okay, just was not. Because what was it? Age of Apocalypse was cool, and it was Onslaught that destroyed it for me. I hated Onslaught so much, so I stopped.
Yeah, that's what Arturo was saying. The character Agent Zero. That's what he was looking for.
Yeah.
Ben Harper says, "I was hoping for a Jose Chung nod, but it was still great. Darren Morgan is the man." I'm with you on that. Yeah. Jose Chung from Outer Space is my favorite X-Files episode.
That is a great episode. Arturo, if you're in there, I also have to bring up that my wife, I forgot where you were even talking. We were talking about Disney, and my wife said, "Is Disney going to fuck that one up?" So it's becoming a thing. Sorry.
It is becoming a thing. And we are going to attribute that to you, Arturo.
Yes. Although they're not gonna fuck up Infinity War. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So any more comments there?
We also have they're talking about Expanse in the books. And then Onslaught was OP, is what Dante says, and Ghost World says, "I just know Onslaught from Marvel vs. Capcom."
That's about if I went back and read Onslaught again, I'd probably feel differently about it. I was just so burned out, but like compared to stuff that comes out nowadays, it's probably like Shakespeare. So I have no idea. As far as this, I've just lost my train. With this X-Files, I don't know. Maybe I got to watch it again. Now that I'm thinking about it more, I don't know. Maybe I just got to watch it again.
Ben Harper says, "At this point, it's obvious they regret killing off the lone gunman, so why not just bring them back, right?" Jose Chung is my favorite episode as well. So yeah, I agree with you, because the shopkeep owner was one of the lone gunmen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? I mean, they brought the smoking man back. I mean, he blew up in a cave. So I guess because they buried them. I mean, that's never stopped anybody, right?
Well, we never saw their bodies. That's the whole thing.
That's right. All I'm going to say is they gave Captain America an autopsy. He came back. So
yeah, exactly.
There it is there.
Mindy Morph says, "I might just watch Expanse season 1, episode 1, just the ship exploding." Damn. Yeah. It's really good.
X-Files fans, watch Expanse. It's amazing. Read the books. We were listening to Caliban's War on the way up here. That was the audiobook we were listening to. So The whole family's into it. Yeah, so it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
And she also asked, where can the X-Files go?
Where can it go? I think reboot it. I'm surprised they haven't tried. But they probably were going to reboot it, but they probably offered, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. They're like, "Hey, we're going to reboot it unless you guys want to come back." And then they said yes, and they were surprised. They're like, "Oh, they actually said yes. They want to come back." Shit.
I'll only give me this amount of money.
Yeah, okay. And they did. Yeah.
Why?
Well, listen, there's no accounting for taste, and no offense to anybody who watched that show, but like, dude, 25 million people watched the 911 show that was on after X-Files. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
25 million people watched that show. And 400,000 watch Happy. I don't get it.
I know. So we pretty much come to the end there. People are talking about Expanse right now. So
yeah,
I'm going to leave it to there.
Which is good. And we'll be doing an Expanse thing. We'll be doing a preview.
Yes, we will be doing the Expanse. So, anything else?
No, nothing else, sir, other than we will be on with Happy tomorrow. It's
8 p.m.
8 p.m. and it's all regular schedule after that. Even though I'm on the road, I'll be settled. So we'll do Friday Night Live at 8 p.m. and then 9:30 on Saturday. We're going to do Counterpart. And then I'll be back home on Sunday for Star Trek Discovery, and it all starts over again.
Exactly. Sorry, Ben Harper asked, what was about to ask if y'all liked Happy. Yes, we answered it. Yes,
I haven't seen it, and I'm gonna like it. I promise you.
Yeah, he will. So I'm gonna end it with "Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America, and the rest of the world."
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.